Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Doing a little bit different video today, talking about wrestling. If you don't know, I'm a big fan of professional wrestling. Grew up in the 90s, loved watching WWE, what was called WWF at the time, and WCW go at it. A lot of great moments there. And I've watched a lot of, footage of wrestling in the 80s as well. And then from then on, I've been pretty much in tune what's going on in the wrestling world. So I definitely want to do some more wrestling content on my channel. I've already done a couple of videos with Mike and Norin, my friends Mike from Did You See That? And Norin from NorinRad89. Both also huge wrestling fans. The three of us been on my channel. We've done a couple of live streams together. I hope to get them on again to do some more. But until then, I want to do a video I've been thinking about doing. And that is top 10 wrestlers that have never won a WWE Heavyweight Championship. Lots of incredible wrestlers out there that when you look at it, I'm always shocked. I'm like, wow, how did they not push this wrestler to win a championship? They're considered some of the best wrestlers out there. And for me, some of my favorite wrestlers to watch, like just on, entertainment technical level, I thought they had what it took to be a heavyweight champion. So this is my list of my personal feelings of the 10 wrestlers that should have won a heavyweight championship. So let's get to it here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing well here on a Monday night, kind of late Monday night here for me here in Kansas. And love getting to talk about wrestling when I can. I have a couple of wrestling lists that I definitely want to do on the channel. And like I said, I want to get Mike and Norin on again to talk more wrestling. So hopefully you're watching this, Mike and Norin. I know you're wrestling fans. I know Ryan Swells, I think, is a wrestling fan. I think maybe Kieran's a wrestling fan. Rashad G, I don't know if he watches my videos. I know he's into wrestling. So we'll see if we get some people. Like I said, this is different than my normal movies and music, but still something I'm passionate about and I love to talk about. So so we're going to get into top 10 wrestlers that never won a championship here in WWE. That I think should have. I guess these are wrestlers I really thought they should have probably given the belt on them at least once. I thought they were just too good. So number 10, I'm going to go with Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett, English wrestler, pretty good sized guy. He came in with the NXT, or, when they started the whole NXT thing, and they brought in a lot of big wrestlers like Bryan Danielson, of course, was the biggest name. But even Bray Wyatt came into that group as well, I think. And a lot of actually pretty big names came in there. Wade Barrett was one who won, actually, the first season. It was like kind of almost like a reality show where they were competing. And whoever won, I think, maybe got a WWE contract or something like that. And Wade Barrett actually was one who won against, even though Bryan Danielson was like the favorite, I think, fan favorite. Wade Barrett ended up winning that thing. And so I feel like they really gave him a pretty good push when he first came into the WWE. Like I said, he had a pretty good sized guy. It's funny, he was in pretty good shape, but he wasn't totally cut yet. He eventually got really good abs and really looked good. But he still looked pretty good at that point. And I felt like they were pushing him into a heavyweight, possibility, maybe being a main event kind of style wrestler. He was always a heel. He's rarely ever a babyface, I feel like. But he was a good heel. And of course, it's always good when you get someone who's from Europe or any foreigner to the United States and has an accent. Somehow that was always make for good heels. And so Wade Barrett definitely did. And he kind of was the leader of the NXT group that came in. So he was kind of their leader. And in fact, I believe he got a heavyweight championship bout against like John Cena maybe early on. So I believe he did get a couple, chances at the heavyweight championship. but wasn't ready yet, to really win, I would say. It wasn't until he kind of left. At some point, he kind of left, I think. I don't know if he got injured. Anyways, and then they kind of repackaged him and brought him back. And that's when he came up with the elbow as his finisher, where he just hits you with his elbow. And they kind of packaged him as this bare knuckle brawler in England. Like in England, he's this bare knuckle brawler championship. So they kind of made him this real tough guy. And like I said, he lost some weight. He had like really good abs, like some of the best abs we've seen. So he got real cut, got in really good shape, came back, looked really good. And I thought it looked really good out there. He won a lot of Intercontinental Championships, I feel like. I can't remember how many, but it feels like he was always in that one of the best mid-card wrestlers for a while there. And then probably his most popular persona was Bad News Barrett, probably the fan favorite, where he came out and said, I've got some bad news. And then he would say something very negative anyways. And that kind of caught on. The crowd really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too when he come on. I've got some bad news and all that anyways. And he faced off in a lot of WrestleManias. He was the current Intercontinental Championship. I can think of a couple. Like one was a big ladder match, which he lost. And then he won it back like the next day. So he's had some good matches with a lot of good wrestlers for the Intercontinental Championship. So he's definitely one of those guys that he won King of the Ring one year, and he was King Barrett. So he's definitely a guy that everybody was kind of like really liked him, and I feel like, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised he never got the push to get at least one run with the championship. Anyways, Wade Barrett, I don't know if I don't remember seeing him wrestle. He hasn't been in WWE for a while. Maybe getting a little bit older. I don't know if he's retired from wrestling, but I get the feeling unless he makes a big comeback at some point, I just get the feeling he's probably not going to come back and win a championship. He's probably past his prime at this time period, but still, Wade Barrett, pretty good wrestler, never won it. Number 9, I've got a wrestler. I'm going by his WWE name, though he had different names, but Luke Harper, I got here, number 9. Luke Harper came in with kind of Bray Wyatt and the other guy, I'm forgetting his name, that was tag team partner. Luke Harper came in because Bray Wyatt, they kind of repackaged him into this. He wasn't Bray Wyatt before. He was he had a different name, and then they totally redid him, made it one of the coolest wrestling villains characters we've ever seen in Bray Wyatt. And he was kind of this, I don't know, I want to say he's like this Cajun like cult leader or something. I don't know, New Orleans like cult leader, really cool character that kind of almost had a voodoo side to him, very evil kind of spirits, kind of thing. And so they would come out. Of course, that entrance was so great with him. And then I said Luke Harper and the other guy I'm forgetting, and the other guy wore the mask. But Luke Harper had this great look to him. He just had kind of jeans, and he had like just a wife beater shirt that didn't look the cleanest. And then he had that great beard. He had such a great black beard, long black hair. He looked like someone that had come from the South. He just looked like this Southern, hick, kind of guy. I don't know. He fit the character very well. And when he came in, I wasn't like overly like impressed by him, I would say. He's a pretty good sized guy. That helps. He's a good sized guy. He's not super big or strong, but he's a good sized guy, and he moves around the ring really well. And of course, they came in, and him and his tag team partner, I'm forgetting now, won the tag team championships, and they were definitely pushing them as a tag team. Never thought of him as like a great singles wrestler, but then at some point he kind of broke off and did some singles, and he looked really good. Like I said, for a good sized guy, he moved around really well, and he had a great look to him, I think. And he had some really nice moves, some really good wrestling moves, some good signature stuff. And he had that yeah. The way he did that was great. I love the gator roll, where he rolls around with he had a great kind of running big boot that looked great. Anyways, but yeah, I kind of caught on to him, was like, wow. And then he ended up winning the Intercontinental Championship, and that's when I was like, wow, like they're really pushing him as a singles wrestler, being like one of the best mid-card guys, and more and more I watch him more, I was like, man, this guy is so good. I would love to see him get a push to the Heavyweight Championship. He got some pretty good matches here and there. I say the closest he ever got is he had a feud with Randy Orton, came in, and he kind of feuded with Randy Orton, and AJ Styles was also, so he's had these great matches with Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and in fact, I believe he had a match with like, I don't know if Bray Wyatt was the champion or someone was champion, and he had a match with like either AJ Styles, I want to say, or something that like whoever wins this gets like maybe to get to go to WrestleMania or something like that, and he loses the match, so he didn't go. But I remember really pulling for him. I was like, man, I really love to see Luke Harper. Like I thought that would be a good storyline, Luke Harper versus Bray Wyatt, maybe for the heavyweight championship, because Luke Harper was kind of like, you know, his underling, you know, and seeing him kind of rise up. And I said he was mostly a heel, but I think he was so good and the crowd loved him so much that he kind of morphed into a babyface over time. Then he was gone a lot. It seemed like he got hurt or something like that. He did come back, and him and his tag team partner reformed into the Bludgeon Brothers, which I never really quite got that I didn't really enjoy that, because they were just the two big guys that just overpowered everybody, and they seemed like they won too easily. So I was kind of glad that they didn't last very long. But they won the tag team championships at WrestleMania. In fact, so he won a couple of tag teams, and like I said, he had some really great singles. He ended up going to AEW, and I think, man, he eventually maybe could have won a championship at AEW. He immediately became their TNT championship, which was like their big mid-card championship. And I know he went by a different name when he got there. But I guess I think of him as Luke Harper because of WWE. But unfortunately, he, you know, died kind of suddenly. He's well into his 40s at this point. It was a very sudden death, you know, because I think they were doing a lot of big things with him at AEW and really were pushing him as one of their big wrestlers. So too bad there, but man, I would love to see Luke Harper get a championship. Number 8, I'm gonna go with an older school wrestler, and this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, one of the greatest heel wrestlers of all time, and one of my favorite during the '80s period. And I look back and I'm like, man, I'm so surprised he never got the championship. He came really, really close to it, but never really officially got to a heavyweight championship. Anyways, I don't know if he ever got any mid cards either. He was always some tag teams. He did some tag team wrestling mostly, but he was so good as a heel. He's such good on the mic, and the whole persona of he's super rich and he's a jerk, and he, you know, and but man, he had a great. It was such a great character, and the way he played it and the way he made people hate him was so great. Did such a good job there. This arrogant rich guy. You know, everybody's got a price. Great line. His laugh, so iconic. His best chance, obviously, I mean, his biggest moment was it WrestleMania 4, I want to say. Well, he tries to buy the championship from Andre the Giant, which they said, oh, you can't buy the championship. That's against the rules anyway. So then they put the championship on in a tournament for the WrestleMania, and everybody's wrestling. Whoever wins it gets the championship. And he gets to the finals and goes up against Macho Man Randy Savage in a really good match, a really good heavyweight main event, I think, of WrestleMania 4. And I never thought he was the best wrestler. I will say this about him. Like, technically, like, I never thought he was that great of a wrestler. His finisher was the $1 Million Dream, I think, which was just a sleeper hold, which sleeper holds are boring to watch, not great finishers. So he didn't have a great finisher necessarily. He didn't have any really great moves or anything. I feel like he's better as a character than as an actual wrestler. But that's enough sometimes to get you to the championship. And I really thought he would be a great heel champion for at least a short period. But yeah, he ended up losing at WrestleMania 4 to Macho Man. Macho Man had this incredible run all the way to WrestleMania 5. And that was I don't think he ever really got another big shot that I know of. This would be kind of before my time a little bit, but I don't know that he ever got a big shot at the championship after that. They just kind of put him in a lot of tag teams, and he was always feuding, though, with, you know, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, stuff like that. And, yeah, but he was a great heel wrestler. I would love to see him get at least one shot at the championship, or one run with the championship. I think would have been good, because he's such a great character. So, yeah, Ted DiBiase at number 8. Number 7, I got John Morrison, who's, for me, one of the greatest just entertaining wrestlers to watch, one of the most innovative wrestlers, put on some moves I've never seen anybody else do. He was one of those guys that just, man, he was so fun to watch. He would always put on a great match. And he was a guy that they pushed early on, but I'm one of the shockest moments is that they never gave him a shot at the title. And then he kind of left and came back and left and came back and never got really big shot anymore. He first came on as a tag team wrestler, I believe called Eminem or something like that. He was called like something else. He had a different name, like Johnny Nitro, I believe it was his, him and Mercury. It was his partner, Nitro and Mercury. So it was like M and N or something like that was the name. And they were a pretty good tag team. They won some tag team championships. And then he went solo, and man, he really took off, I thought, as a solo. It seemed like pretty quickly he won the Intercontinental Championship. And some of the great matches I've seen is him and Hardy, Jeff Hardy. Man, they went back and forth with the Intercontinental because they both were great tag team wrestlers that went solo, and they weren't big guys. They both were, I'd say mid-sized guys or kind of the lower end size guys. Not super big, not super strong, but incredible shape and all that, and just very athletic and very entertaining to watch. And he had a pretty good look too. He had the great hair and all that. Great entrance music. But man, they had some great matches, and he won the Intercontinental quite a bit. He even went to the ECW at the time, the ECW that they put on at WWE. And I want to say he won the ECW championship at one point, but I'm not counting that. If he did, if I remember right, I'm not counting that. That championship wasn't really, to me, a big championship compared to like either the World Championship or WWE Championship, heavyweight, or the kind of the big ones there. But yeah, so he had a great singles run there. He would get on with The Miz, and him and The Miz would have a great tag team run with the titles, and really formed a great tag team. Long time. They've been tag team for a long time. They keep coming back together. But then The Miz kind of went off, and they really pushed The Miz, and The Miz ended up going off and winning the Heavyweight Championship. And to me, I always thought Morrison was a better wrestler than Miz, but Miz was better on the mic guy and better character developer maybe than John. Though John's not bad on the mic. I've seen him do stuff, and he can be very funny, and them together are absolutely hilarious. One of the funniest tag teams I've seen. But yeah, for some reason, they really put a rocket to Miz for a while, and he's still been one of the strongest, personalities in wrestling, The Miz, I guess. But in fact, I know John Morrison fought The Miz for the Heavyweight Championship, and I really thought John Morrison would get it at some point. He was just too good not to, I thought. Like I said, he had some of the most innovative, high-flying moves. He was kind of a parkour kind of guy, and so he would do all this crazy stuff, crazy flips in the air, and even his one of his finishers, he does like this twisting flip thing on this people. I mean, it's incredible to watch. Anyway, so man, he was a guy that, man, I really would have loved to see him get a championship. Really should have. I know he went off to TNA, and I think he won a TNA championship. And then he came back to the WWE and even won a tag team with Miz again. And then he got let go again, unfortunately. So, but he still could go the last time he came in. So, but it feels like, I don't know, he just lost his chance. But yeah, so I got John Morrison at number 7. Number 6, another guy that, man, he's one of the most, I want to say most athletic, one of the strongest, pound for pound strongest guy we've ever seen. Great personality too. I'm so shocked he never got a championship, and that's Cesaro. I thought Cesaro was amazing. He came in, again, he's from Switzerland, so he came in as a Swiss bad guy. Great look to him, even though, like I said, he did some incredible stuff he's not the biggest guy necessarily, really in shape guy, but I mean, he'd do stuff like he'd pick up the Big Show, and he'd pick up some pretty big guys and do some pretty incredible like feats of strength for his size. They think, oh, he's not that strong, but then he does something, you're like, ooh. I mean, what really got him off was when he spins people around, he grabs them by their feet and he spins them in the ring. It's such a silly move that, that's been done in the past, but never got over as anything but kind of a silly thing where you spin them around and then they just get real dizzy because you spin them around a bunch. It doesn't really hurt them that bad. But somehow he turned into one of the most over moves I've ever seen in WWE, and one of my favorite. And it's because of how strong he is and how good shape he is. He's able to take somebody and spin them around, up like 10 times, like incredible amount of times. And that's what got him over, is 'cause I remember seeing him when I became a huge Cesaro fan. and I don't know who it was. He was wrestling somebody, and he grabbed them like he does by the ankles, and he starts spinning them around the ring. And I'm going, okay, that's, and then after a while, you're like, he's still going? Like, I don't know. It was just so amazing to watch. I remember just going, oh my gosh, like usually you spin him around like 3 or 4 times and then you let him go, and he's like going around and around, and the crowd's counting it 5, 6 every rotation. I mean, I think if you get to like 10, he'd do it, which is can't be easy to do on the, when he's picking up a big wrestler guy, but he knows how to like I guess lean back and use his own body to do that, and it would make you super dizzy. And he would do it on big guys. He would do it on guys that are, like I said, he's so strong for his size. The Swiss Superman, they called him. It was crazy when he did it on a real big guy, like the Great Khali or somebody. He would do that, and you're like, even that guy, he was able to do it. Anyways, but he did get a pretty good. He was like United States Championship for a while and had a pretty good as a villain, as a heel. But I feel like he never got really a lot more big runs with belts or anything. And I don't even know if he even got a good, match at the championship. He might have. I wouldn't be surprised. Because like I said, to me, he was like one of the great mid-card wrestlers that we had recently. I mean, he still wrestles with the AEW today. Sorry. And he does very well in AEW. But it's one of those things where, I don't know, Vince McMahon just, sometimes Vince McMahon likes him, sometimes he doesn't. And Vince McMahon just never, I guess, cared for Cesaro for some reason, so never gave him that push. The crowd loved him. I mean, the crowd always went really wild for him. Like I said, the spin move was so over of a move. So it's so shocking that he never got anything better. He won a lot of tag teams, though. He formed some of the great tag teams I've ever seen. Like him and Sheamus. That was such a great, the Bar, really great tag team. And Tyson Kidd, he had a great tag team with. So he's kind of mostly known for his tag team more than anything, it feels like. But yeah, one of the most skilled, I want to say, I don't know how to say it, like one of the most skilled, entertaining, just guy that always puts on a great match. And maybe he didn't have a good enough personality to make him go over more than he did. Maybe he didn't quite get that right character that would push him over the top, unfortunately. But yeah, he definitely should have won a championship. I'm still shocked. And maybe he still could. He could still come WWE. I feel like, though, his time maybe is past. Who knows? Then again, we've seen wrestlers who've been in the mid-card for a long time and then finally get a championship. So it's possible. But since he's not with WWE, I don't know that's ever going to happen. All right, number 5, we got really a big hitter of the 80s, 90s period. And I put him here because, to me, he had a lot of great matches with top talent for quite a while. And I'm surprised he never got pushed to the championship, and that is the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Man, he had such a great look. Of course, he was a big, strong guy, one of the best physiques that we've seen in the 80s, 90s period. I want to say especially the 80s, late 80s maybe, it was like his prime. He formed a tag team, the British Bulldogs, and that's kind of where he got his name, the British Bulldog. And they had a really great tag team, and he won a lot of tag team championships. And he had the mascot, the Bulldog, and of course he's wearing the British, flag colors. I had a really great look for him. And he's even had like kind of a mullet sometimes just, pretty good buzz cut. Always looked really good in the ring. But yeah, even a singles championship, I always thought he looked good because of how strong and powerful he is. He can always put on a good match with other wrestlers. His running power slam always looked great. It's a simple move, but the way he did it, it looked like it, the only other person, now I'm forgetting his name, but a bigger guy does it today, and it does a really good job with it. But yeah, the power slam was really, the super like power slam that he did looked really great. I said he got some great matches. He almost won a Royal Rumble. He came in like second or whatever, and with Shawn Michaels coming in first. And then they were the last two, which was pretty incredible. And he had that great moment where it looked like he threw Shawn Michaels out. Shawn Michaels came back in, threw British Bulldog out, and won the Royal Rumble. So he was one, spot away from winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania to fight for the championship. But besides that, he did have some championship bouts, some real good ones. One of the best ones I've seen was him and Shawn Michaels. When Shawn Michaels was a champion, they had a really good match one time, and it was a good back and forth. And Bulldog almost looked like he could have won that, but of course Shawn Michaels came out in the end, and that was generally like one of the great matches I've seen. Obviously, he had a really great match with his brother-in-law Bret Hart, where he beat Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. One of the best Intercontinental Championships we've had. Really great match if you haven't seen that one. Really talked about as one of the great matches. So he's had great matches with some of the top talent in the business. But I don't know, he never could get over there. I know he had a lot of drug problems that I think hurt his career. Maybe he never got that push because of that. That unfortunately happens to a lot of people. Their own issues get in their way of doing better. He ended up, I think, coming to WCW, but didn't do much there. Then he came back to WWE, I remember, and they kind of, I almost want to say repackaged him because he's a little bit older at this point, but still in good shape. He just wore jeans and just no shirt, and he was very tan. He got a real tan. He's a little bit older, but still in good enough shape. He looked good out there, and they kind of just put him at this, tough guy kind of role. And he ended up coming back and winning like the European Championships or something like that. So he won one of the mid cards. And I remember him saying, I won every. He said when he came back, he said he's won every championship except for the World Heavyweight Championship. So it kind of felt like, oh, he came back because he wants get a push and get a run for the championship, which I thought would have been pretty cool. I don't think he ever really got that close to that point. And then he died again. He died pretty suddenly, and unfortunately, while he was still wrestling. So he never got shot at the championship. Maybe if he lived longer, I don't know, maybe they would eventually put it on him. Who knows? It depends on what his relationship, I guess, with Vince McMahon was. Seems to account a lot for that. But yeah, British Bulldog, number 5. Number 4, I got, to me, a guy that I've only heard good things about from other wrestlers. Like, every wrestler seemed to love to work with this guy. And that is Mr. Perfect, or Chris Hennig. And his wrestling name was Mr. Perfect. But his run in the, like I said, like mid-late 80s, whatever, I believe, maybe into early 90s. I want to say mostly he's like a heel wrestler. But man, what a great, Mr. Perfect. He does everything perfectly, It was a pretty good character, great name. He had a great long blonde hair. To me, he had one of my favorite, I think one of the most effective finishers, which was a pinning move, which was really nice, which was just, I forget what it's called, but just hooking them and then do like a suplex and then hold them in place for the pin. It was actually a perfect plex. I think they called it perfect plex. Really good finisher, actually. And he's a guy that would win a lot of like mid cards, like Intercontinental Championships, but he had great matches with like everybody. He was just one of those guys that he was a good technical wrestler, really good at selling moves, and good on the mic. He had like everything really to be like a really, like I said, being one of the top guys, and he had a lot of good matches out there with everybody. But he never got out of the mid card. I don't know, for whatever reason, he just never got that push to the championship. And I think he got some injuries maybe delayed him and all that. To me, the closest one of the best matches or things I've seen him do was in one of the Royal Rumbles, and this was like 90, 91, maybe 89. I can't remember. He was in second. It was him and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was, of course, the champion. He was the biggest name in wrestling. And he went toe-to-toe with him for a little bit before Hulk Hogan threw him out, of course, and won the Royal Rumble. But to me, that was a moment when I remember seeing that going, man, Mr. Perfect, like, kind of went toe-to-toe with Hulk Hogan. Like, I feel like he could, go toe-to-toe with anybody. And if he can do that, man, he can win a championship, I would think. But yeah, again, never got that push to get it, unfortunately. And like I said, I've read a lot of books. I read a lot of biographies of different wrestlers, and every wrestler I've read, anytime they talk about Curtis Hennig, I mean, and they loved wrestling with him. They said, oh man, they always felt like they put on a good match when they wrestled him. So it makes me think he was like a favorite in the locker room, which made me think he was just a really good wrestler. And if you're that good, he should have got a championship run. But he's another guy who died kind of still was wrestling, and he died suddenly. So it was another guy that maybe could have gotten if he would have lived longer. But yeah, Mr. Perfect at number 4. All right, top 3. Some pretty big names here. Number 3, I got Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon when he was with the WWF. But man, yeah, it's another one where every time I think about it, I was like, wow, I always thought they would give him a shot. He was one of the top mid-card guys for quite a long time. And it's funny, he was a guy who didn't really go anywhere until he came up with a great persona, which was Razor Ramon. Great name. He acted like Al Pacino from Scarface. He was doing basically an impression of Al Pacino, but it worked. And he had a great catchphrase, I'm the bad guy, admitting that he was a bad guy. He was a heel wrestler and that he, was fine with that. And he had the great look, and he had the toothpick that he would flick at people right before the match. So he had a lot of good stuff going for him. It was a little crazy, the Cuban accent he would put on, but yeah, overall as a villain, he was good, and he was so good that he became a babyface because the crowd just loved him, loved his overall look and the way he wrestled. And he looked good in the ring. He was a pretty good sized guy, pretty good in shape. The Razor's Edge was a really good finisher that looked like that could really hurt. And he had some incredible matches. One of the greatest matches everybody says is that ladder match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania like 10 or whatever. It's considered one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. It was the first big ladder match we've ever seen. And he ended up winning that match against Shawn Michaels and retaining the Intercontinental Championship. So, he defeated one of the big names of wrestling and one of the best, belts they have, the second best belt they have, the Intercontinental Championship, which he would win like 4 or 5 times during his time there. So, that's why he had the look, like I said, he had the size, he had the look, he had the character, he had the crowd behind him. I don't know why he never, and this was a time period where I feel like he could have gotten there to the top, but whatever reason, maybe there's some politics going behind the scenes, and I know he had drug problems as well. But yeah, he never got there. He ended up coming to WCW with Kevin Nash, kind of one of his best friends, and they formed, the NWO. They one of the biggest, factions, whatever, in wrestling history. The NWO, the heel, group that they formed. That was really over, and he was one of the main guys behind that. He was really one of the main guys in WCW when they kind of had the Monday Night Wars and all that. Him and Kevin Nash formed a really good tag team there, which I'm forgetting. And they eventually called themselves the NWO Wolfpack, which I was a huge fan of as well, the red and black that they wore. He never got really a big shot that I can remember at the championship. He probably had some championship matches, but like I said, never got a big run. I don't remember if he got a big run at any of the mid cards. But like I said, he was definitely one of the big names in WCW during the 90s, and he was a great on the mic guy. And I said the only real big success maybe was tag teaming with Kevin Nash, and but he put on really good matches as well. And so again, I'm kind of surprised WCW never gave him a title run for the Heavyweight Championship. Anyways, and like I said, he had some drug problems, I think delayed some of the stuff, and he had to get over that. He did come back to WWE for just a short period with Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. They kind of redid the NWO, and he had like one WrestleMania match, or his last WrestleMania match against Stone Cold Steve Austin was the last thing he kind of really did, and then he kind of retired, and he's in the Hall of Fame as well. Like all these guys are like in the Hall of Fame that have retired, the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Except for one guy I'll get to in a bit. Yeah, because he had a lot of problems that hurt him for quite a while, and maybe that's why. I was going to say, he died not too long ago, and he's another one. He was retired, but he still wasn't that old when he died anyways, and it's kind of sad to see. It's always sad to see these wrestling greats die. Too many wrestlers die, feels like too young in some ways. But yeah, number 3, Scott Hall. Really surprised he never got a heavyweight championship. All right, number 2, this is actually one of the best baby faces we've ever seen in wrestling, and that is Ricky Steamboat, or is known as Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And this is a guy that really, he was one of the biggest names in wrestling in the 80s, and one of the most over baby faces we've ever had. Of course, maybe it hurt that he was pretty popular right at the time when Hulk Hogan was the guy, and Hulk Hogan held the belt for like 3 years straight, and so nobody could grab it from him until Macho Man would get a chance, the Warrior would get a chance, but not very many people got a chance at the belt, unfortunately. Only a couple of people seems like really got a chance at the belt. But Ricky Steamboat seemed like a guy that, man, he would have been a great, babyface champion. And he's, again, another guy who just put on great matches with everybody. I mean, his matches with Ric Flair are some of the greatest matches of the 80s period and one of the best rivals we've ever seen. Yeah, he's one, again, just a great technical wrestler. There was no high flyers at that time. He did go off the rope, though, which is more than most people. But he was quick, moved down the room, just a great technical wrestler. Looked great, had a great physique. Yeah, I don't know much more to say. He was just, he's another guy that if you talk to any wrestler, I think they would say, yeah, I loved working with Ricky Steamboat. Always put on a good match. Some of my best I mean, I know Ric Flair would say he put on his best matches with Ricky Steamboat. Was probably his best, opponent he's ever had. So I know a lot of it's because of politics, and I should say, like, he did win the Intercontinental Championship, and he had one of the best matches considered of all time at WrestleMania 3. His winning the Intercontinental Championship from Macho Man. I don't know if it still is, but I know for a long time, I've seen that as number one, like the number one best match at WrestleMania. It's not my favorite match at WrestleMania, but a lot of people love that match, and it was definitely early on. I mean, WrestleMania 3, where we saw, wow, this is what, a good, just back and forth, kind of fairly long back and forth match where you got two just great wrestlers just going at it, and for a mid-card championship. I mean, yeah, so definitely he'll always go down in history because of, he's obviously a Hall of Famer and goes down in history as like one of the greats because of like that match alone. I know he got Vince McMahon, again, who was a huge jerk and a lot of bad things about McMahon, but I know Ricky Steamboat had the Intercontinental Championship, and he wanted to take some time off because his wife had a baby and she was having some health issues. So he wanted to take some time off to be with family. And McMahon took the belt off him because of that. And he kind of put him, kind of made it hard for him to ever get back up top of the wrestling world. So really terrible thing. It's like this guy just wanted to, be a good husband and father, and he got punished for it by McMahon. It was terrible. He ended up coming to WCW, but he never did much in WCW, I don't think. And I think maybe he went back to WWE for a short period before he kind of retired. But again, it's like he had that really great period where he could have been, one of the top guys in the business, but he just never got there because of politics or whatever, because of McMahon. And then once he got out, he never could get back to that position. Anyways, but yeah, again, a guy that definitely, if we go back in time, I think we would say Ricky Steamboat definitely should have got a title at some point in the 80s period. But yeah, so I got Ricky Steamboat number 2. My number one wrestler, I think, that never got a heavyweight championship and really should have, and that is Owen Hart. Owen Hart's one of my favorite wrestlers out there. Of course, brother of Bret Hart, another absolutely amazing wrestler. But Owen was one of the most talented guys as far as in the ring. He's another one of those guys in the ring. Man, he moved so good in the ring. He can do a lot of like flips and stuff like that. Very athletic guy. Much more, entertaining, I think, a wrestler even than Bret Hart was. And he was a good technical wrestler because he grew up in the Hart family. So of course, he's going to be a good, he has that good technical wrestling ability, trained by the father, Stu Hart. And, but then he was a little more flashier than his brother. He was also really good on the mic and one of the great heel wrestlers we got. And his rivalry with Bret was one of the great rivalries we had also. And I want to say late 80s, early 90s period. It was a great brother versus brother, and him being like, and they played it so perfectly with Owen being the jealous younger brother of Bret. Bret was the champion. Everybody loved Bret, and Owen felt like, he was, no one thought about him. And he played that so well, and he really committed to that character. And in my opinion, one of the greatest WrestleMania matches was his match with Bret Hart at WrestleMania. The very first match, I think, at WrestleMania, I want to say 10. They wrestled the very first match, and he won. He beat his brother, which was so good because you didn't think he was going to beat his brother. Bret's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And so Owen winning that match was so great for him, his character, for him as a wrestler. And it's a really great back and forth match. They're both really, match up really well and got great chemistry because they're brothers and they probably wrestled many times growing up. But man, I love that match with him and his brother. And just that whole storyline with him and his brother was great. And they even have some reconciliation and formed the Hart Foundation, whatever, and actually wrestled together before Bret Hart went off to WCW. And even at that point, Owen Hart went off, and I thought Owen Hart still was great. He won a lot of Intercontinental Championships. He won a lot of Tag Team Championships. I don't know, he never got pushed for heavyweight, but he got close. I mean, because he did face his brother for the heavyweight championship, like right after WrestleMania in a steel cage match. Really good match too that Bret Hart wins. But Owen Hart though went toe to toe with his brother. So I always felt like, man, Owen could. I mean, he'd been great too. What if he got it? What if he beat his brother? That'd been great to see him beat his brother for the championship. And then Bret tried to get it back from his brother Owen, and Owen had been a great heel champion. He was really good at that. So, man, missed opportunity there to see some really good matches between him and his brother over the championship. Unfortunately, never happened. And even later after Bret Hart left, I still thought he was one of the best wrestlers in the business, and one of the most entertaining guys to watch. Like I said, very flashy at times and always put on good matches, and great on the mic guy. Did some good tag team wrestling as well. But they never gave him that push, unfortunately. And then he died very tragically in the ring at a pay-per-view from falling from way up high in Kansas City. I've been to the arena where he died at, in fact. One of the saddest moments of my life. When he died, I mean, that was one of the biggest moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like that was so shocking. Really, really sad. Unfortunately, he'll never be in the Hall of Fame because his family sued McMahon, and they've been going back and forth legally, In fact, and his wife doesn't want him to be in the Hall of Fame. She wants nothing to do with the WWE because of everything that happened. Very unfortunately, because he is a Hall of Famer. I mean, even if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he's a Hall of Famer. He's, to me, one of the greatest wrestlers, one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. And that's why I had to put him at number one, just because out of everybody on the list, he was my favorite to watch and grow up watching. So, Owen, you get the number one spot for me. Should have won the heavyweight championship at some point. So it's kind of long, 40 minutes long video. I probably should have done 2 parts, but hopefully I can get this out. And please tell me, what do you think about my list? Who would you put on this list? Who do you think should have had a championship run that never did? I'd love to read your thoughts on that. And besides that, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all. Hope you have a good day.